Fields of research like psychology and nutrition don't typically intersect, especially when it comes to increasing employee productivity, let alone your own. Have you ever wondered if your psychological state and your lack of focus is a symptom of your dietary intake and not your lack of willpower? Almost everyone I know is sick of feeling like they could be achieving more in their lives. They start each day with optimism in their eyes, but that soon fades as interruptions, fatigue, and stress sets in. Instead of focusing on how they use their time, what they really need is an updated approach to go from flat to focused to 10x their results in a matter of weeks, not months. There are 12 mistakes people make that result in regret that they could be using their time better. Thankfully, I've got a free quiz that will help you identify yours. But first, there's one big mistake which is the most overlooked of all. Before we get to that, you must answer an important question. What would your life be like if you had enough energy, focus, and drive to do the things that you've been putting off for the past 12 months? I asked myself this question 5 years ago when I was researching my book Unstoppable and fighting my way back from depression. To find answers, I surveyed 70,000 internationally to find out what was really holding people back at a deeper level. I uncovered a shocking pattern that's rarely addressed when it comes to reaching superhuman levels of focus and productivity. In my research, I found that those that failed to achieve their goals were not only easily distracted and more susceptible to stress, 57% of them also experienced brain fog, 65% daily fatigue, and 54% depression. And it's this next piece that's key. 90% of this group had poor dietary habits that were destroying their capacity to feel good and be productive. Maybe you can relate. Their brains were running on fumes instead of rocket fuel. They were so busy blaming themselves for not giving it their all, they didn't realize they were missing the most important piece of all: nutritional psychology. The question is, what is it and how do you apply it to your daily life in just minutes? Nutritional psychology is the field of study that looks at the interdependent relationships between psychological experiences and dietary intake. It's a brain food revolution that leads to peak performance. It's also the solution to those that have tried everything to be more motivated, focused, and driven, but everything, including self-help, has failed. And here's where you need to listen closely. The average human brain comprises only 2% of your body's weight, and yet it consumes about 20% of the calories you take in. Your brain is by far the hungriest organ you have. It's your number one weapon in developing superhuman focus, and yet it's also the most abused organ in your body. There's an intricate link between the foods you eat, how you feel, think, and act. And until recently, it's not been given the attention it deserves, especially with the advent of fast food, pharmaceuticals, chronic stress, and pollution that impairs your ability to think clearly and concisely while disrupting your second brain, known as your gut microbiome, which I'll get into in just a second. Fields of research like psychology and nutrition don't typically intersect, especially when it comes to increasing employee productivity, let alone your own. It's also why in the free quiz below, you'll be asked if you experience brain fog, fatigue, and struggle to concentrate, because they're all symptoms of poor nutrition and slow brain function that can quickly be addressed when you pinpoint the cause. To increase mental clarity, alertness, and energy, we must take a two-pronged approach. The first, you must protect your brain from the ravages of daily life. But first, you must become aware of the top 3 ways chronic stress and nutrition are intertwined. Number 1, researchers demonstrate that chronic stress causes electrical signals in your brain to be compromised and delayed. This results in brain fog and emotional instability. It's no wonder you can't focus. Your brain has literally slowed down to a crawl while your expectations of how much you should be achieving hasn't changed. This creates cognitive dissonance and self-doubt. See if you can relate to some of the most common symptoms of chronic stress, such as insomnia or daytime sleepiness, low energy, unfocused or cloudy thinking, changes in appetite or in emotional responses to others. Number 2, stress depletes your precious brain chemicals like dopamine, your motivation molecule, which is a driving force behind your success. And because 50% of dopamine is produced in the gastrointestinal tract, if you've subscribed to an unhealthy diet or you suffer from gut imbalances, you're making yourself more susceptible to depression, stress, and anxiety, which is going to make you incredibly unproductive. Number 3, stress has an extremely negative effect on your body and brain's nutrient stores. It rapidly uses up essential nutrients like magnesium, which is essential for a healthy stress response. If you're under stress and you're malnourished, it's a double-edged sword that will lead to low cognitive ability, affecting how much work you get done. It will also downregulate your dopamine and you'll experience a loss of motivation. You require certain nutrients that are precursors to the creation of dopamine and serotonin. You need to feel alert and focused. The second step is to understand the relationship between the food you consume, the moods you're in, and your productivity levels. Haven't you ever wondered why some days getting your work done is easy, while others you're having to push through with willpower? This is because it's not just stress affecting your output, it's your diet. Consider this. Think about the last time you ate something really bad. It was dripping in oil, high in carbohydrates, or drowning in sugar. How did you feel the next day? You most likely felt groggy, tired, or even hungover. You were slow to get started and you had to rely on caffeine for a jump start. That's because your brain had an inflammatory response to the foods you consumed, resulting in neuroinflammation, which slows down how fast and clearly you think. To add to this, the very acts your brain carries out on a daily basis, like burning glucose and oxygen to produce energy and firing off neurons, while dealing with daily stress, can cause collateral damage that impacts the way you feel and act. To apply nutritional psychology to boost your productivity levels and achieve superhuman focus, this week, I want you to be mindful of what you're eating and how you're feeling. Certain foods offer neuroprotection and healing processes your brain needs to flourish, like berries, avocados, green tea, and turmeric. If you want to fire on all cylinders, your first step is to recognize how you're sabotaging your ability to perform through what you eat. The next step is to take the free quiz to learn how to activate your motivation molecule, dopamine, to pull all of the 9 mechanisms of superhuman focus into place. Click the link to learn more now.